Welcome! Today we are going to get to know the grand staff and get familiar with the keyboard layout. I am your host, Lauren Spavelko. Let's get started. So first let's take a look at our piano. As you can see, the piano has a pattern of black and white keys, and the black keys follow groups of 2 and groups of 3 all the way up. Off my screen, but if you look at the very bottom of the piano, we have one black key that's all left out, all by its lonesome. It would be a group of 3, but they just decided that's where the piano ends. But otherwise, you can see it follows the pattern of 2 and 3. Next to every group of 2, to the left side, this is going to be our note C. And C is a really important note on the piano. A lot of things are built around C. So I'm going to mark this one. This is middle C. Because it is in the middle of the piano, and it is also in the middle of our grand staff, which we'll see in a minute. Our music alphabet, if we take a look, is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If this is C, our A is going to start here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it would start over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. So that's a little to start with the piano. Let's take a look at the staff. So I'm going to clear the page here. If we let's begin with the treble clef. Let's turn my pen on. There we go. So here we are. Here's our treble clef. Okay. With the treble clef, you can see our staff consists of 5 lines, and we count them from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for the treble clef, those are as follows. We have E, G, B, D, and F. So you might have heard the mnemonic device before. Every good boy does fine. And then the spaces in between are F, A, C, E, face. So let's correlate this to the piano. If I drew a note on the lines, so I have E, G, B, D, F, let's take a look at where that would be on the piano. So here's our middle C. The lowest line on the treble clef is E. So this would be E. And then when we go line to line on the treble clef or the bass clef, we're doing a skip. So we're going to skip a note and skip a key. So this would be E, G, B, D, F. So these are the 5 lines on the treble clef. And then if we go back and take a look at the spaces, let's look at our space notes. Whoops. That would be these 4. Move this over. F, A, C, and E. On the piano here again, that would be these ones. F, which is next to the group of 3. F, A, C, E. So those are our space notes. If we're going line to line or space to space, you'll see that we're skipping over letters, right? And we're skipping over keys. And if we're playing at the piano, usually we're skipping over fingers. So again, if I played F, A, C, E, then probably I would move. Yep, so I'm skipping fingers there. So that is the treble clef. Let's take a look at the bass clef. So I'm going to back up here. So right below it, let's take a look at the bass clef. So the bass clef is for our lower range. And the line notes here are G, B, D, F, A. Excuse me. And the space ones are A, C, E, G. Okay. If we take a look at our piano keyboard, going down, so I'm going to go from the top of the staff here, the A, going down, it would be A, F, D, B, G, which is a little off the screen. So those would be my line notes. And then if I did the space notes, let's take a look here. G would be our first one. So G, E, See, those are skips. If we're doing notes that step, that go line to space, so if I wrote them like this, for example, let's say I wrote a little sequence that went like this, D, E, F, G, A, you'll notice I didn't skip any letters, and I wouldn't skip any fingers either if I was just playing that. So I would play D, F, E, G, A. Line, space, line, space, line. So it follows one right after the other. Now let's take a look. We're going to look at the grand staff. So the grand staff unites the treble clef and the bass clef. So here we are. This is our treble and bass together, and we need both the treble and the bass to represent the notes on the piano. So this is called, when we put them together, the grand staff. Okay. Now, we said before, if we took a look here, this line at the bottom would be E. If I wanted to find that middle C, I need to extend my staff a little bit. So that would be, if I added one little line like this is called a ledger line, then now I have room for my C, because this would go down to E, D, and then this would be C. Okay? If I could do the same thing going up from the bass, so this would be A on the line, B on the space, and then I would need another line, and that would be C. So this note is called middle C. And you'll notice, like at the top here, I've kept the line spacing the same, so this looks like it's the same distance apart. And it's just because it's the next line down, and going up from the bass, it's the next line up. So if I look at my piano, this would be E, D, middle C. So that's for the treble. And then if I look at my piano going up, this would be A, B, middle C going up. So you can see that the middle C unites the top and the bottom. And so it is in the middle of our grand staff. So we're going to call this, again, middle C. We're also going to give these number designations. So the numbers are to tell us about what octave of the piano we're in. If you take a look at your instrument, way down here on the bottom, if you find the group of two, the lowest C on the piano, it's not the last key. The last key is A. A, B, C. This one right here. That is C1. So if you count up the piano following the C's, you have C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7, and then C8, which is at the top of the piano. So this one in the middle is going to be C4. It's the fourth one. Now let's take a look. We're going to learn about the treble C and the bass C as well. So if this is middle C, if we follow our staffs, kind of like a mirror, the third space up and the third space down, this one is going to be called treble C because it is in the treble staff. And this one is going to be called bass C because it's in the middle of the bass staff. So, and we're going to give these octave designations. This is C3 because it's the third C on the piano. And this is C5 because it is the fifth C on the piano. If we keep going, some other important C's that we'll learn. I'm going to add some ledger lines because I need to make this a little bit higher. This would be F on the line, A on the line, C on the line. So if I went up, you could see it would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So there you go. And this one is called high C. So this is a soprano's high C, and we call that C6. And then down here on the bottom, just like a mirror image, this is the high C is 2 ledger lines above. The low C is 2 ledger lines below. So here is low C. and this one would be C2. Okay. And you have two more beyond that. You have C1 and C7, and then again, C8 at the tip top of the piano. So if we take a look at our piano, here is middle C, which again is in the middle of our grand staff. Treble C would be here, one octave higher. High C would be an octave above that. So middle, treble, high. Okay, so those are the ones for the treble clef. And then bass C is going to go down. So here's middle C, bass C, low C. Okay, and you can see those are like mirror images. So you have middle C in the middle, and we have 3 spaces going up. 1, 2, 3, there's treble C, 3 spaces going down, 1, 2, 3, there's bass C, and then 2 ledger lines going up, 1, 2, there is high C, 2 ledger lines going down, 1, 2, there's low C, okay? So everything operates around C on the grand staff and on the piano. The other thing that's important to remember with these octave designations is that the numbers actually change at C as well. So if I, for example, if I wanted to write all the notes from middle C up to D, or up to treble C, if I did like this, I'll scoot this over a little. Okay, then all of this would be C4, D4, E4, F4, G4, A4, which is A440 that the orchestra tunes to, B4, and then this would become C5, right? That's where the number changes. And if you go below C4, like if I did this note right here, that would be B3 because I went 1 octave into the lower octave. So on the piano, you would again change the numbers here. So I'm going to start here with my bass, which is C3. That would be C3, D3, E3, F3, G3, A3, B3, C4, D4, E4, F4, G4, A4, B4, C5, etc. So those octave designations are important. Sometimes when I'm talking in class with the piano, I will say, hey guys, can you find C4? Or hey guys, can you find middle C? So sometimes I'll use those numbers specifically, and sometimes I will say, use the sort of nickname, the middle C, treble C, bass C. So just be acquainted with those terms. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 more landmark notes on your staff. Let's take a look here. So just to kind of split this up a little bit, I wonder if I can, oh good, I can like kind of tap it a little bit just to get rid of some of those. Boop. Not perfect, but close enough. So I'm going to give you one more important sort of mirror image note. And that will be sort of what's halfway between these. So C, if I take a look at my piano, 4ths and 5ths are really important intervals. An interval is just how far away 2 notes are. So C, if I count up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here's G. So that note is a 5th away, and on my staff, that would be right here. Okay, so you can see how it's the 2nd line. If I go a 5th down from C, C, B, A, G, F. So now I went a 5th up before, now I'm going down. That would go down into the bass clef. That would be F right here. So this is going to be F, and this is going to be G. Now, the reason I'm pointing these notes out is because these notes are how the clefs actually get their name. So I'm going to make that super clear just on a clean staff. So let's take a look. If you look at the treble clef, once upon a time, this used to be called the G clef because you can see there's kind of a letter G inside of there. And so the line that it wraps around, this is telling us that this is this note G. And similarly, the bass clef used to be called the F clef. So you can kind of see a letter F right here. And that is showing us right here that this note is F. So the clefs orient us to the staff, and they show us kind of where a starting note is and then how all of the other notes are organized around them. And then, again, just to fill it in, you'd have C here, C here, that's the same C. And then you would have treble C and bass C. So you can see how it makes sort of this mirror image around middle C. So that is our introduction to the grand staff and how we map those notes to the piano keyboard. I'll see you in the next video.